Good evening. Tonight, kidnapped victim killed 2 weeks after abduction in Igabi local government area. As community leader is injured following bandit attack in Kajuru Council of Kaduna State. Turnout of voters described as low in the by-election conducted today by INEC in 11 states across the country. 3 policemen reportedly drowned while on election duty in Byelection. U.S. government removes all non-immigrant visa reciprocity fees for Nigerians effective December the 2nd, 2020. And UK and European Union in last-minute effort to break the post-Brexit trade deal stalemate, plus business and sports.
On business news tonight, hope rises for the commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Area in January next year, as Nigeria deposits the instrument of ratification of the agreement with the African Union.
And on sports news tonight, poor showing for Nigerian clubs on the continent as Kano Pillars and Plateau United crash out in the CAF Confederation Cup and CAF Champions League, respectively.
It remains a tale of killings and attacks in Kaduna State, where bandits suspected to be kidnappers have killed one of their victims, Sani Khalil, 2 weeks after they abducted him from Rigasa area of Igabi local government. The deceased had been in custody of the kidnappers since November 20th, when he was abducted along with his friends while they were returning from a journey along the Rigasa Link Road in Igabi Council of the state. Meanwhile, bandits have attacked Kasuwa Magani town in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna. The gunmen were said to have launched the attack last night and shot a community leader in the town. The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs and security officials have visited the town to assess the situation.
Okay. This is a Kasuwan Magani Mosque, where the leader of the Fulani Ados in Kaduna State was said to have observed his prayer for the day at about 8 p.m. on Friday night before he was shot at in his house by bandits. These bullet holes on the walls of the building shows how prepared the bandits were, but following the intervention of security operatives and locals, the victim is alive and recuperating in the hospital.
As he went to his house now, immediately when he sat down in the front of his house now, so they begin shooting him, and we don't know the people that they shot that man.
The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, who is on a fact-finding mission, believes the attack on the Fulani leader is a case of attempted assassination.
There was indeed tension as a result of the sporadic shooting, because security agencies swiftly moved to contain the situation, and we are also grateful to them. No life was lost. What we also unraveled is the fact that they targeted him because he is cooperating with government and security agencies in the fight against banditry in Kajuru General area.
The incident necessitated this emergency meeting with security agencies and other stakeholders in Kasuwa Magani to discuss ways to strengthen security in the town and other surrounding communities in Kajuru local government.
Security is not a one-man business. It's a collective responsibility of the people and the security agents. The security agency cannot do anything if the people does not provide them the needed information. You are more in number and you are here. You know the ground better. You have other sources. I want to use the opportunity to plead with you, to encourage you to always provide timely information. Once you get to know anything or hear anything, please feel free. Let us get to know about it, start to be addressed.
Residents, however, lament that the issue of kidnapping for ransom remains a major security concern.
The greatest challenge we're having in Kasumagani is the issue of this kidnapping issue. But the issue of conflict, religious conflict or ethnic conflict, as none. It's not taking place because all of us have agreed to come together to work as family.
We need government to actually to double their efforts in terms of security that are working towards seeing the ending of this kidnapping issue.
Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State has had its fair share of conflicts for over 2 decades. But with the resolution of the people to live in peace, they are now faced with one common enemy, which they hope authorities will help tackle for good.
One person has also been killed while many sustained injuries as a result of a clash between crop farmers and herders at Garin Malam in Jakusko local government council of Yobe State. Although police authorities in the state is yet to make a formal statement on the incident, Channels Television gathered that the incident happened in the early hours of today. Trouble started when a herder forcefully encroached into farmland that was yet to be harvested. The matter was reported to local vigilantes who, on arrival at the scene, exchanged gunshots with the herders, resulting in one herder sustaining gunshot injury. The herders were said to have mobilized later and attacked the community where the son of the village head was killed and several houses and farmlands burned. The community, which is about 170 kilometers away from Damaturu, the state capital, has now been deserted for fear of further attacks by the herdsmen. Meanwhile, more reactions are still trailing the killing of 43 farmers in Borno State. This time, a coalition of northern groups say it is dissatisfied with the claim by the presidency and chief of army staff that the insurgents had been decimated. Part of the group's demand at a briefing in Abuja is the reorganization of the nation's security architecture.
The callous responses by Garba Shehu, Lai Mohammed and Tukur Buratai have further exposed the misleading claims that the President Muhammadu Buhari government and our military have decimated the insurgents and secured vast territories from the insurgency, thereby confirming suspicions that the army and other security units involved in the fight have turned the war into a milking cow and money-spinning industry. We restate that President Buhari and his administration have failed totally in the vital area of protecting the lives and properties of citizens. We demand all northerners to dwell on state governors and the federal government to see that our security architecture is reframed and reorganized in ways that will bring an end to the incessant banditry, insurgency, kidnapping, and other vices that are dragging the region into socio-economic abyss.
Away from security, voters are awaiting the results of the by-elections held today in 11 states across the country, covering 6 senatorial districts and 9 state constituencies. The 15 elections were conducted to fill senatorial seats in Bayelsa Central and West, Cross River North, Imo North, Lagos East, and Plateau South. Candidates are also being elected into state houses of assembly in 9 constituencies across Borno, Cross River, Lagos, Zamfara, Kogi, Bauchi, Katsina, and Enugu states. In Lagos and other states, voter turnout is set to be low and the process described as largely peaceful. However, things turned tragic as 3 policemen reportedly drowned in Bayelsa State in the course of the election.
It's some minutes before 8 a.m. Men of the Nigerian police in Ikorodu area of Lagos are out to enforce the restriction of movement order in areas where by-elections are scheduled. 5 local government areas in the state with over 1.3 million registered voters are to choose their representative for Lagos East Senatorial District, which covers Ikorodu, Ibejuleki, Ekpe and Shomolu, and for a member of the State House of Assembly for Kushofe 2. At Senatorial District Unit 013 and 014 in Ikorodu, INEC officials are set, but there's a mild conflict on the removal of a campaign poster belonging to one of the 12 participating parties. This is eventually resolved and voting starts at about 9:30 a.m. However, the turnout of voters is low. At Unit 09 in Byelection, the turnout seems even lower. With over 1,200 voters registered here, the party agents and community leaders say that from their observation so far, less than a third would participate.
Our place is too far to this Abule Foley, because we're supposed to have a Foley booth in our area. Before we can get here, if you want to enter motor like 400 naira before we can get to this place. And we want people to come and vote. We did not give them money. They will not come out because they don't have money to come out to enter motor. And there is no motor self.
The turnout seems more encouraging in Byelsa State, where the process is to fill the vacancy in Byelsa West and Byelsa Central senatorial districts. With a total of about 700,000 registered voters, residents troop out early to fulfill their civic responsibility, although a high disregard for COVID-19 protocols is observed. The governor, Oyediro, who is from Byelsa Central Senatorial District, is happy with what he describes as an improved voting process.
The card readers identified me as soon as the card was put in there and didn't even reject my fingerprints. So I can describe the process as being smooth, being fast and peaceful.
Unfortunately, though, some yet to be identified personnel of the Nigeria Police Force have reportedly drowned on their way to southern Ijaw local government area of the state. Our correspondent gathered that the policemen were traveling to the area to carry out their assignment for the senatorial by-election. In South Cross River State, over 500,000 people registered to vote in the election to choose Cross River North Senatorial District and Obudu State constituency. The election was mostly uneventful, with a high turnout in some of the polling units visited by Channels Television.
Despite all the challenges of postponement and the difficulties of this COVID-19, I think the turnout so far is encouraging, very good.
And in spite of the insecurity challenge in the northeastern state of Borno, INEC has conducted by-elections in 2 local government areas to replace 2 lawmakers who died, Umar Audi, who represented Bayo constituency, and Wakil Bukar, lawmaker representing Nganzi constituency. They died a week apart in May. 7 political parties fielded candidates in the by-elections in Borno State. Overall, the elections are reported to be largely peaceful.
Meanwhile, there's been an unsuccessful attempt to set ablaze the INEC headquarters in Das, Bauchi State shortly after collation commenced. Our correspondent Hajar Ali, who is at the collation center, reports that 5 canisters were thrown in the building, but fortunately it landed in an open space near the collation hall. The process was disrupted for a short period as people scampered for safety. She reports that security has been reinforced and the hoodlums chased away. In part 2 after the break, we have more on the by-election in Bauchi and some other states across the country. Plus, U.S. government removes all non-immigrant visa reciprocity fees for Nigerians effective December 2nd, 2020. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Kidnapped victim killed 2 weeks after abduction in Igabi local government area, and a community leader is injured following bandits' attack in Kajuru Council of Kaduna State. Turnout of voters described as low in the by-election conducted today by INEC in 11 states across Nigeria. 3 policemen reportedly drowned while on election duty in Byelsa. U.S. government removes all non-immigrant visa reciprocity fees for Nigerians effective December 2nd, 2020. And UK and European Union in last-minute effort to break the post-Brexit trade deal stalemate. Now, the by-election was also held to fill the vacancy in the Das State constituency that's in Bauchi State. Our correspondent Hajara Aliyu reports that a government official was arrested for vote buying by officials of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
Women and youths dominate voting queues in the State Assembly by-election in Das constituency of Bauchi State. It is about making a political statement by electing candidates of their choice to fit in the shoes of the former lawmaker, Musa Mante, who was killed by gunmen a few months ago.
It means everything because it stands as a weapon that the masses have in their hands to change their future. That's what it stands for.
As you can see, the way the environment is, I have a very confident that the person that is supposed to win is going to win.
A day to the election, police paraded 5 suspects linked to the murder of the former legislator. At the polling units, security and anti-graft personnel established their presence as residents hailed the peaceful conduct. The process has been largely smooth, except for a few polling units where some delay was experienced.
Actually, we don't have any technical issue. All the smart cards that are working.
Obviously, not all adhered to the COVID-19 protocols. With voting over, certain and counting ongoing, the voters stay back to witness the process and defend their votes.
PDP, APC, there are invalid.
The election is not free of allegations of vote buying, as a government official is arrested by the EFCC and later released on bail.
What they told me is that it is an attempted, they are alleging him to have attempted to buy votes. They have not caught him red-handed buying the vote, but I think after searching his vehicle, they now saw money.
He's a high-profile personality in the state, and he is capable of having such amount of money.
How much was the money, sir?
The money is just around 500 and something thousand naira.
Discussions about today's election has been centered on who holds more political influence in this constituency, a sitting governor or a former Speaker of the House of Representatives, and not much has been said about what the contenders bring to the table. Results from polling units have started arriving from collection centers, and the winner will be announced here at the INEC headquarters in Das. For the two major political parties, APC and the PDP, it is a battle to gain more members in a state assembly already dominated by the APC. From the INEC headquarters in Das, Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Thank you, Hajara. And in Imo State, candidates laying claim to the APC ticket in the Imo North senatorial elections also took part in the exercise, despite court decisions disqualifying both candidates in different judgments in Imo State and Abuja. Our Imo State correspondent, Eitope Kute, who monitored the election, says even though the election recorded low turnout of voters, it was generally peaceful.
As early as 8 a.m., voters in Imo North Senatorial District are out in their different polling units to cast their ballots for the candidate of their choice in the by-election. By 8:30 a.m., accreditation of voters and voting commenced simultaneously with INEC officials adhering to the COVID-19 protocols on use of face masks and hand sanitizers.
Our place is very, very calm. There are no problem on it because everybody come out peacefully and do it. There are no problem, and we are happy.
We ensure that the voters are on queue by 2 meters, distance of 2 meters. There's face masks, and then their hand sanitizers were used by the APO1, APO3.
Some of the candidates also exercised their franchise at their different polling units. The two candidates laying claims to the APC ticket in the election Ifeanyi Ararume and Frank Ibezim shared their thoughts about the exercise, while the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Emmanuel Okewulono, speaks on his chances.
I'm quite confident that I'm going to win. I've been able to do, round-up campaigns. I've been able to go through the 64 wards of the zone, and the followership has been marvelous. The support has been incredible. The mass appeal is interesting. So I believe I will win.
Our leadership, all of them, almost all of them, they are in APC. And it is only in this zone that 100% of members of House of Reps are APC.
Considering that Mr. President is APC, Mr. Senate President is APC, Mr. Speaker is APC, His Excellency the Governor Hope is APC. It's only the way that we can quickly in 2 years get the dividend of democracy. So and our people understand that, and that is why I know that there's actually no contest.
All eyes are now on the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) as residents of Imo North Senatorial District await the result of the election. Eyi Topakute, Channels Television News.
Away from the by-elections, the U.S. government has suspended all non-immigrant visa reciprocity fees for Nigerians effective December 2nd, 2020. Nevertheless, non-immigrant applicants are still required to pay the $160 non-refundable MRV fee at the time of application. Reciprocity fees paid prior to December 3rd, 2020 are non-refundable. The removal of the reciprocity fees matches the Nigerian government's removal of additional fees on U.S. citizens applying for Nigerian visas. Now, as the coronavirus pandemic persists, airlines in Nigeria say they are in dire straits. Most of the operators are concerned that the unavailability of foreign exchange to conduct the dollar-denominated business and underfunding of the industry may lead to airline extinction. This next report looks at the challenges facing the Nigeria aviation sector in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Triax, Okada, ADC Airlines, Chachangi, Oriental Airlines, Albalka, Cabo, Sosoliso, Bellevue, and AfriJet. That's a list of just 10 of the over 20 airlines that have gone under in Nigeria. No thanks to factors that include poor business plan, high cost of maintenance, choice of operational equipment, high interest on loans, and poor corporate governance. Before the COVID season, statistics show domestic airlines in Nigeria on the average pay about 35% to 40% of a ticket cost as taxes and charges that come under the guise of statutory levies in addition to other charges. Post-pandemic cost of reason and ticket prices are rising.
65,000 to Abuja, just one way. It's quite expensive. I almost didn't buy, but because what I was going was important, I just had to pay.
I bought it at 1,700. The upper week I traveled through this airline, I paid 66,000. Yes, to and fro, but it's now at 1,700.
In the mix of rising costs of operations, lesser fees and the scarcity of foreign exchange, especially in this post-COVID-19 times, local airlines are indeed battling for existence.
Aviation is not cheap. You will see clearly that even during this lockdown across the globe, you see airlines getting billions of dollars, billions of pounds. This is because the country understands the fact that if they don't do that, then the economy is going to go down.
These issues may have prompted the chairman of the Senate Committee on Aviation, Smart Adeyemi, to raise an alarm.
Airline operators in Nigeria airspace, they are managing and they are cutting corners. I want to put it on record that there is danger in flying in Nigeria today, in case you don't know. There have been instances of some planes keeping off the runway. You didn't care to find out what happened. We must support the airline operators, pending when we have our own national carrier, if we so desire. But if we want to continue with the airline operators, like most nations of the world are doing today, you cannot afford to leave the airline operators on their own, because they will want to be in business and struggle to make profit, and by extension, they'll be cutting corners.
An airline operator believes this call is coming at the right time.
We, as professionals, will not allow this to happen. We will not. We will rather have a business go under rather than have the airplanes falling off the sky. So we will not cut corners. No business, no airline will do that, because what we are selling is speed and safety, or safety and speed. And if we're going to lose safety, then the business will collapse.
As oil prices tank while global demand has dropped in the COVID-19 era, Nigeria's economy is being caught in the crosshairs, and it's important to push growth in the aviation sector as an enabler of economic growth.
From aviation to the judiciary, where the Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi says he remains committed to the ideals of fair and justice delivery while promising continued support of the executive arm. Governor Umahi stated this during a special church service organized to mark the opening of the 2020-2021 legal year of the Ebonyi State Judiciary at the Ecumenical Center in Abakaliki.
Leaders must begin to build for the next generation. And so I appeal to the workers, especially the judiciary. I'm happy that their president is here today. No governor has, and he decides to withhold from you. Governance is like a ship in the high sea, confronted by all kinds of waves. And the captain has to do everything to steady the ship. My Lord, the CJ and your wife and the entire judiciary of Ebonyi State, I congratulate you very, very highly. Very highly. And of course, the bar too. We're lucky in our state to have men and women of the bench that have absolute fear of God. It has been that with the past Chief Judge. It is so with you.
When the news at 10 returns, hope rises for the commencement of the African Continental Free Trade Area in January 2021 as Nigeria deposits the instrument of ratification of the agreement with the African Union. That's on Business News. Please join us again. All federal and some state-owned universities in Nigeria have been under lock and key since March this year, not just because of the coronavirus outbreak, but also the lingering industrial action embarked upon by lecturers, which has kept students at home for 8 months and counting. Several efforts by federal government in striking lecturers to resolve the impasse have met a brick wall. Our next report looks at the cost of this lingering strike on the university system, as well as the university undergraduates that have been at home since then.
Members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, embarked on a nationwide strike action on March the 23rd this year to protest against government's failure to honor an agreement it entered with the union in 2009. Since that strike was declared, both the government and ASU have held at least 5 public meetings trying to resolve the impasse. The striking lecturers have a total of 8 demands, which includes the exclusion of its members from the government payroll system called IPIS, payment of universities' revitalization funds, payment of earned academic allowances, and payment of all withheld salaries of members. Some of the recent meetings with ASU give reasons to believe that a long-awaited end to the strike is near.
Overall, we had very fruitful discussion, and we hope that in the coming days, the discussion should bear the desired fruits.
We believe that very soon we will conclude with our members and we'll get back to the ministry.
But these hopes have remained unrealized as the strike lingers on. From the far north to the south, all federal and some state universities remain closed to academic activities. The students who are now out of the classrooms are no doubt the ones bearing the brunt of this lingering industrial action.
before now, we actually planned out that, okay, at this point, we should be done with school, and then we have all of this to do, and then this is the next step we need to take after school. But then at this point, everything has been halted because of the strike, and then we still are not sure of when they might have to call off the strike, and then we proceed with school, because all of the plans we had for school, life after school has been halted because of that. So it's not really been okay at all.
They say we are the youth of today and leaders of tomorrow. If truly we are leaders of tomorrow, then we don't have to be on strike and sitting down at home doing different kind of things. I believe the federal government can just assist us and just respond to what these our fathers and us who are demanding for, and just ask them to go back to class to save our life and to save our future.
But there are also some students who are making good use of the strike period. Naomi Chiroma, a 300-level mass communication student of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, is one of many undergraduates who are now taking some vocational courses while the strike lasts.
At first, I think it affected me badly because I was home throughout and then I wasn't doing anything. And then it was just like mentally I was decreasing instead of increasing. I was just home doing nothing. So I decided to enroll myself in a fashion academy. And then I've been here for 3 months now.
In everything that is negative, there's also a positive side aspect of it. And the positive aspect of it is that I started learning something, because before I got into school, I didn't have any handwork at hand. But presently now, I can make up, I can tie a tie, and I can also make hair now.
Cumulatively, ASU has embarked on strike for at least 26 months in the last 10 years, beginning with the 5-month strike in 2010 to the current industrial action, which has entered its 9th month, the longest in recent times. The cost of these unending industrial actions on the country's educational system is huge and sometimes cannot be quantified. It contributes to the reason why annually many young Nigerians continue to seek admissions into universities abroad, and the more the system continues in this regard, the more parents are likely to consider other available options that can provide uninterrupted education for their children.
Well, let's discuss this issue further. And joining us live from our Abuja studio is a senior lecturer from the Nasarawa State University, Dr. Akiyala Ishaku. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me, and thank you, Nigerians, for tuning in.
All right, there's no doubt that this long-standing strike by university lecturers has impacted negatively on academic activities in our universities. How much of a setback do you think the system has suffered this period?
Actually, during this period of strike, it has impacted negatively. You can as well see that it has impacted from the micro perspective. Melissa, do you know how many businesses are closed down in various campuses and even host communities that these universities are cited? What beholds of an akara seller or a restaurant, a woman that owns a restaurant and depends on when a university or the school is on section, and now for 8 months, these businesses are closed. What happened to even landlords that have houses for these students, and then the students are not more, and then the landlords also are waiting for the students to resume, and then so that they can be able to get resources for them. So it has impacted negatively even in terms of unemployment. So you can see that a lot of businesses around university communities are closed down for 8 months. This has also increased unemployment rate. You can as well see that it has also increased crime rate. A lot of students that are at home may have indulged in one way or the other, one crime activity or the other. You can also see it as the aftermath of the NSAS. You can see all the lootings around. When you trace that, you can begin to see that it is an impact of universities being on strike. What happens to also lecturers that have not received salary for 5, 6, 8 months? Do you think that that has not affected their social life? That has also affected a lot of budget, family budget, and it has also affected a lot of, family fronts. So it has affected also the psychological state of the students. A lot of students have been traumatized. So when you run a clinical psychology series test on these students for being at home for quite a longer period of time. You understand that a lot of them have undergone depression severally because a lot of them, they are not used to staying back at home. So the impact is quite huge. What happens to the impact also to the economy? And so the impact is quite huge. And I think that we need to see to how government needs to be very sensitive to the plight of ASU so that we can return back to classroom.
Dr. Ishaku, not also forgetting, especially the academic impact on the students, but I also want to ask you that in the series of consultations that have been ongoing, do you think that the students' interests have been top priority?
Absolutely, Melissa. The student interest has been on top priority of the ASU list. Although I'm not speaking for ASU, I'm speaking from my own personal point of view. Melissa, when you check our Nigerian university, we are graduating students that don't know how to write CV. We are graduating students that don't know how to write cover letter for employment. We are graduating students that don't even have email addresses. And so there is a huge disconnect when it comes to the industry and the academia in Nigeria. And I think that the revitalization of the university system in Nigeria will go a long way in bridging this gap, and so which is quite key. In the 21st century, Melin said we are getting contracts from China, and then we are building railroads, and all the engineers are coming from China. So what stops us from also engaging engineers back home in Nigeria? Do you also, so it is also part of the student interest. So we need to close the gap between the academia and the industry, and that has been the push for us in terms of revitalization of the university system. And I think that it is quite key. Research and development in every institution, in every country is quite key. And I was also expecting, I hope you know that in the ideal system, our university is supposed to be entrepreneurial in nature. They are supposed to become innovative hubs. If you look at the West, universities are declaring profits. You buy intellectual property, you do knowledge transfer. So what stops us from having a national policy that all multinational companies should also fund research? So I'm also looking at it from another angle, that we must also come up with a narrative on how we need to fund our university system. It must not also be on the government side alone. We can actually run a PPP arrangement in funding of our university. We can have national laws to compel companies, both local and international and multinational companies, to fund research.
Indeed.
So
we also hope
national policy that for every
we also hope that the strike is called off as soon as possible. We'd like to thank you. Wish we had more time. Thank you so much, Dr. Akiyala Ishaku, who's a senior lecturer from the Nasarawa State University. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me.
We'd like to bring you an update from the by-election just in. APC's candidate, Mr. Bala Ali, has been announced winner of the Bauchi State Assembly by-election for Das constituency. The result was announced by the returning officer, Professor Ahmed Mohammed of the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University. The winner polled 12,299 votes to defeat PDP's Mr. Lawal Umar with 11,062 votes. The result was announced in a rowdy and tense atmosphere after PDP party agent raised an objection. The PDP agent claimed that the exercise was disrupted and people left the premises, but the APC agent insisted that nobody left the area. We'll bring you more updates on the by-election that held across the country. And to other stories now, the late chairman of African Newspapers PLC, Reverend Omotola Oyediro, has been laid to rest in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Some of those present at the funeral ceremony at the All Saints Anglican Church in Jericho area of Ibadan include the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and his wife, governors, as well as other dignitaries. In his sermon at the occasion, the Most Reverend Ayo Ladigbolu says the late Mrs. Oyediro lived a life worthy of emulation.
Dignitaries from all walks of life gather at the All Saints Anglican Church, Jericho, Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, to pay their last respect to late Reverend Mrs. Omotola Oyediro. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo and his wife Dolapo, who is a niece to the late Mrs. Oyediro, are present at the service. Also in attendance are the governors of Ondo, Ogun, Lagos and Ekiti states, as well as the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu.
And like Timothy in the scriptures.
In his sermon, Most Reverend Ayo Ladigbolu extols the virtue of Mrs. Oyediro, describing her as one committed to the service of humanity.
Today, we are not only celebrating saintly, godly womanhood as a true foundation building, we are also praising God for godly parentage.
Saint-Anne's, Saint-Anne's. All girls of her alma mater, St. Anne's School, Ibadan, render the school anthem to honor one of their own.
May we are to inspire by true service to God and mankind. Saint Anne's, Saint Anne's.
After the service, she was laid to rest at the church cemetery. Late Mrs. Omotola Oyediro, Nee Awolowo, was born on the 1st of December 1940 to Chief Obafemi Awolowo and Mrs. H.I.D. Awolowo in Ibadan. Until her death on October 16, 2020, she served as the chairman of African Newspapers Nigeria PLC, publishers of the Tribune titles.
Let's now bring you some business news. Here's Kayode Kikiolu.
Thank you, Millicent, and you're welcome to Business News. The federal government has submitted the ratification instrument agreement, which establishes the African Continental Free Trade Area with the African Union's legal depository. A statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that the document was deposited today by Nigeria's representatives to the AU, Ambassador Richard Adejola. The AfTA is the continent's most ambitious integration initiative, which seeks to create a single continental market for goods and services with free movement of people and investments. So far, 54 countries have signed the agreement, while 34 countries have deposited their instruments of ratification ahead of the deadline set for December the 31st. Meanwhile, African heads of state have unanimously supported and committed to the launch of the African Trade Barriers website as part of moves to facilitate the implementation of the AfTA by state parties. According to the Secretary General of the AfTA, Wene Wemkele, the agreement was reached at the 13th extraordinary session of the African Union Heads of State and Government on the AfTA in preparation for the commencement of trading. Mr. Wemkele also revealed that the heads of state unanimously adopted the Declaration of Johannesburg on Sustainable Declaration, which was adopted in 2002. For more business stories, President of the African Development Bank, Akiyala Ishaku, has called on financial services providers to rise up and collectively support Nigeria to recover and build back stronger with greater economic resilience towards the multiple challenges facing the country's growth. Speaking at the 2020 Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria Fellowship investiture today, Dr. Adesina says that Nigeria is not alien to the challenges and the bank is ready to support African countries, financial institutions and the private sector to accelerate Africa's economic growth. Dr. Adesina, who was conferred with honorary fellowship of the institution alongside 18 other eminent personalities, stressed that the honor is a security-backed asset towards ensuring that they continue to work harder. Well, that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Kikiolu. It's back to Millicent on the news at 10.
Thank you, Kaide. And to the international scene, the UK and EU have agreed to return to the negotiating table to try to agree a post-Brexit trade deal. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen made the decision during a telephone call on Saturday. Negotiating teams for the two sides will reconvene in Brussels on Sunday, and the leaders will speak again Monday evening. Time is running out to get a deal through before the UK leaves EU trading rules on the 31st of December. Agreement has been reached in most areas, but key sticking points remain. These include the fishing rights, the rules governing state subsidies for business, and how the agreement is policed. Russia is pushing ahead with its large-scale COVID-19 vaccination program despite an incomplete final human trials. Around 2 million Russians are expected to be inoculated with the Sputnik V vaccine this month. Health workers, social workers and teachers are the first to receive the jab. Some scientists have welcomed the news, but others say the data has been rushed out too early. There's more now. Global COVID-19 update.
Russia is starting its COVID-19 vaccination program, with clinics in the capital Moscow inoculating those most at risk from the virus. It is using its own vaccine, Sputnik V, which was registered in August. Developers say it is 95% effective and causes no major side effects, even though it's still undergoing mass testing. Thousands of people have already registered to get the jabs over the weekend. Each person will receive 2 injections, the second 21 days after the first. State authorities in Rio de Janeiro have announced a series of restrictions to curb the spread of the surging infections, including suspension of classes in all public schools and restoring online education. According to acting governor, the pandemic is predicted to get worse in the coming days due to holiday gatherings. The newly adopted measures include increasing hospital accommodation capacity. Turkey has entered its first full weekend lockdown on Saturday since May, after coronavirus infections and deaths hit record highs in the recent days. The country of 83 million people recorded over 32,000 new cases, the highest number since the beginning of the pandemic in March. Turkish television showed largely empty squares and streets on Saturday in the largest city, Istanbul, and the capital, Ankara, and the third largest city, Izmir. Meanwhile, seniors at a French care home can now be able to feel the touch of loved ones, thanks to an inflatable tunnel and 2 plastic sleeves. The hug bubble allows care home residents isolated from the outside world to avoid catching the virus to hold hands and embrace their visiting relatives, because at all times they are separated by a hermetically sealed plastic film. For family members visiting, it has brought comfort. And finally, the coronavirus pandemic is not stopping a Belgian hospital from organizing its annual St. Nicholas celebration. In Belgian folklore, St. Nicholas travels once a year from Spain on a steamship laden with presents, accompanied by dozens of helpers. Together, children are told they travel the land for 2 weeks, handing out cookies and presents, finishing with a night of gifts, which children unwrap on December 6th.
And sports news comes your way right now. Here's Kayode Alayade.
Thank you and welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's Plateau United have crashed out of the CAF champions after playing a goalless draw with Simba Sports Club of Tanzania. Despite the club's valiant effort in the second leg, they lose out 1-0 on aggregate due to the loss at home in the first leg. Kano Pillars suffered a similar fate in the CAF Confederation Cup, failing to overturn a first leg deficit against AFC Saraf in Senegal. The Sai Musa Gida, as they are fondly called by their fans, played a goalless draw at home and lose out 3-1 on aggregate. In the English Premier League, Burnley and Everton shared the points in an entertaining early kickoff yesterday in the English Premier League, a game that ended 1-1 at the Turf Moor. Elsewhere, Manchester City continued their return to form, beating Fulham 2-0, courtesy of goals from Raheem Sterling and Kevin De Bruyne. In other matches, Manchester United produced an amazing fight back to beat West Ham 3-1 to move up to 4th on the league table. In the last game, Chelsea beat Leeds United 3-1 at Stamford Bridge. And Swedish pole vaulter Armando Duplantis has been named the Male Athlete of the Year at the World Athletics Annual Award Ceremony. Duplantis, a world silver medalist in Doha last year, set a world record by clearing 6.17 meters in Torun, Poland in February, and then bettered that by 1 centimeter in Glasgow the same month. He also produced the highest ever outdoor pole vault jump when he cleared 6.15 meters to win gold at the Rome Diamond League meeting in September.
Where do we start? Where do we start with this season? Well, besides, I guess, the obvious about the whole outdoor season, you know, the way I approached it mentally. I mean, I'm assuming that it was going to be an Olympics game, and it was going to be my first full professional season. So I just wanted to really go out there and show the world what I was capable of, and try to really put my name out there and have some big performances, and I was able to do that.
That will be all on sports news. Back to you, Melissa.
Thanks, Kayode. And the main news again. A kidnapped victim was today killed 2 weeks after being abducted in a Igabi local government area of Kaduna. This came as a community leader was injured following bandits' attack in Kajuru Council of Kaduna State. Also today, turnout of voters was described as low in the by-election conducted by INEC in 11 states across Nigeria. 3 policemen reportedly drowned while on their way to a community for the by-election in Byelection State. And the U.S. government today removed all non-immigrant visa reciprocity fees for Nigerians effective December 2nd, 2020. You're watching Channels Television, your home for the news. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Nwaka. Have a good night.